Good day, everyone. My name is Brian Nettles, the creator of Book of Mormon Heartland.com. Today, I want to go over an article that I've written on unique words in the Book of Mormon. The article is entitled Irreantum, Rameumptom, and Other Words in the Book of Mormon. As you start to read the Book of Mormon, you quickly realize that there are several words in the book that have no meaning in English. Now, some of these words, people have been able to trace them back to Hebrew roots. But other words, people have been unsuccessful at doing this, and this has been a stumbling block to some people, because some of these words, they were not looking in the right place. Now for some background information about myself. My foreign language experience begins with my mission, serving a mission in Hong Kong back in the 1980s. After serving my mission, I went to Brigham Young University where I studied Chinese to learn Mandarin. That was a long time ago. I have, much more recently, read the Book of Mormon in Chinese, and I'm currently reading the New Testament in Chinese. In 2017, following a prompting, I began studying hieroglyphic Egyptian, and many wonderful things have happened to me since that time. And last year, I began a project where I was forced into a position where I needed to learn Demotic Egyptian as quickly as I could. It was a fascinating project, and I learned a lot, but I still have a ways to go. I have learned Demotic Egyptian well enough to look things up in the dictionary, and that leads to this presentation. Now let's begin with some background information on the Book of Mormon. If you're not familiar with the Book of Mormon, it is a historical record which covers a period of time of about 1,000 years. It begins with a family that left Jerusalem, they came to America, they lived in America, their society thrived in America, and then around 350 BC, they had a major decline in their civilization, and by 400 AD, they were basically wiped off of the face of the earth. That is, a portion of them. The surviving members of the prevailing party, they all denied that Jesus Christ was their Lord and their Savior. And since the people had fallen into a general apostasy, the records pertaining to the gospel of Jesus Christ had to be buried into the earth. Now let's talk about the language of the Book of Mormon. At the very beginning of the book, Nephi, one of the original authors, he states this. This is the second verse of 1 Nephi, the second verse of the Book of Mormon. Yea, I make a record in the language of my father, which consists of the learning of the Jews and the language of the Egyptians. This is the first surprise, because you would expect that them coming out of Jerusalem, their chosen language to write in would be Hebrew. But instead, Nephi chose to write in Egyptian. The next surprise has to do with what they called the brass plates. The brass plates was a record of scripture which they brought out of Jerusalem. And once again, this is a surprise because you would have expected this record to have been written in Hebrew, but it was not. It, too, was written in Egyptian. It says right here in Mosiah 1:4, "For it were not possible that our father Lehi could have remembered all these things to have taught them to his children, except it were for the help of these plates. For he, having been taught in the language of the Egyptians, therefore he could read these engravings and teach them to his children." So surprisingly, the records were not written in Hebrew, they were written in Egyptian. Then you get to the end of the record. Now Mormon is the one who abridged the record. He's the one who wrote the Book of Mormon, mostly. He abridged the 1,000-year history of the people and wrote it on gold plates. And this is what he says about the language that he wrote in. "And now behold, we have written this record according to our knowledge, in the characters which are called among us the reformed Egyptian, being handed down and altered by us according to our manner of speech." And so he too is intending to write in Egyptian, but it's their new version of Egyptian. The reality is the people in Egypt were also writing in a form of reformed Egyptian because at this time they were writing in Coptic. Okay, now before I go over the words, I need to cover a couple of suppositions. Now, anyone who knows anything about languages knows that they change over time. I do have some suppositions that I am making. The first supposition I want to go over is that a syllable such as IR, such as in the word Irreantum, may be the same thing as YR, which is in the Chicago Demotic Dictionary. In the Chicago Demotic Dictionary, YR means river, and my supposition is that IR equals YR. Another supposition that I make has to do with UM. This one's a little bit more of a stretch, but I still believe it is correct based on context. In the Chicago Demotic Dictionary, YM is used to mean see. My supposition is that UM equals YM. The word for see in Hebrew is also a close YOM. Now let's go over the words. The first word, Rameumptom. So what is a Rameumptom? Well, during the days of Alma, there was a group of people that lived in Antionum who had begun to corrupt their religion, and they had built this tower, which they called the Rameumptom, which being interpreted is the holy stand. And then it says in verse 27 of Alma 31, it says, Behold, O God, they cry unto thee, and yet their hearts are swallowed up in their pride. Behold, O God, they cry unto thee with their mouths while they are puffed up, even to greatness with the vain things of the world. So, do I find Rameumptom in the dictionary? I did not find the whole thing, but what I did find is quite significant. Let me make this a little larger for you to view it better. Okay. So you could see right here, Rami means cry or lamentation, just like it talks about in verse 27. Tum, look at that, footstool. That's a direct hit. So we were looking for holy stand. We got Rami for cry. We've got the middle section, which I have not been able to find. And then we've got tum for footstool. That's pretty darn close. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the next word. Manti. Manti is a city in the Book of Mormon. It's to the west of Zarahemla. It's to the west of the river Sidon. So you can see right here we've got this MNT with the little caret at the bottom. That's like a TJ. Or over here we've got MNTY, but here's Manti, which says night watchman, porter, or doorkeeper. So it's very possible that the word Manti means that they are like the gateway into the Nephite lands. Got an interesting write-up on the location of the city of Manti if you ever want to check that out. Then there's the city Antionum. Antionum was a strategic location, if you remember the story about the anti-Nephi Lehis, a group of people who were Lamanites who accepted the gospel of Jesus Christ and came over to live in the Nephite lands. And the city was set up to protect the anti-Nephi Lehis, and it was called Antionum. And let's look at the name ONT, or a derivative spelling ONTY, onti, to hold back, restrain, repel. By the way, this thing that looks kind of like a 3, it's the raven. In Demotic, it looks like a big 2 or a handwritten Q. It's ont, or onti, to repel or restrain. Onum, look at that right there. Onum, to go. You put it together, onti, onum. If you go here, we will repel you. So that's what I believe Antionum actually means from Egyptian. Gershon. This one's a little bit interesting. Jer means all. Shon means fruit tree. So a literal definition taken from Egyptian would mean that Jershon means all fruit trees. It's a land full of plentiful fruit trees. Now, there is an interesting article written by Book of Mormon Central, which proclaims that Jershon has a Hebrew tie in it as well, that the word Jersh means inheritance. And here's the word in Hebrew. They're using the YRWSHA, or ha, hey. So interestingly, the word Jershon in Hebrew means inheritance, and in Egyptian it means all fruit trees. It may have both meanings associated with it. The next word is the hill Shem. This one just blew me away when I saw it. I'm going to go ahead and read the verse in Mormon 1:3. Therefore, this is Ammoron talking to Mormon. Therefore, when ye are about 20 and 4 years old, I would that ye should remember the things that ye have observed concerning this people, And when ye are of that age, go to the land Antum, unto a hill which shall be called Shim. It's not called Shem now, it shall be called Shim. And there I have deposited unto the Lord all the sacred engravings concerning this people. So the word Shim, there it is right there. S-H-Y-M, Shim. And look at this definition right here. Storage place. So the records were kept in the place that was to be called Shim, and Shim in Egyptian means storage place. Who'd have guessed that? Okay, so let's go to the next word, Antum. That's the same verse now. That when ye are of that age, go to the land Antum, unto the hill which shall be called Shim. Antum also seems to be Egyptian. The same Antum, the same A-N-T from Antionum, which means to repel, to hold back, to restrain, and being the supposition that I talked to you about at the beginning, that may mean sea. And so putting them together, it is the land which repels the sea. Now let's get to Irreantum. From what I've been able to tell, no one's been able to really give a good description as to the meaning of the word Irreantum except for what it actually says in this verse by Nephi, where he says, and we beheld the sea, which we called Irreantum, which being interpreted is many waters. And hence, once again, I go to where I believe that means sea, and it's got this close correlation right here in the same sentence. And so this one, I have to say, is more of a stretch. But this is what I've got, and this is what I think is correct. Ir means river. I mentioned that earlier. When I looked for the word large, this is what I found in the book called The Grammar of Demotic, written by Janet Johnson. She says to be large or be great, and what she has here is just a bunch of vowels. So my supposition, and it is a supposition here, is that Ea is what is being referred to right here. Okay? But that leaves us NT. Remember, river, many, and sea, and that leaves us NT. I don't find it in the Demotic Dictionary, but I do find it in Bill Petty's Hieroglyphic Dictionary, and I'll show it to you. It has an N symbol and a T symbol. That's a water symbol with a T, or three water symbols transliterated as NT water. For me, that settles it. Ir, Demotic for river, refers to the currents of the ocean. Ea, Demotic for great. NT, hieroglyphic for waters. Sea. The last word I want to go over now is the name Alma. From the time I was young, I was told that the naysayers have a complaint about the Book of Mormon, and that is that Alma could not have been a man's name. The reason, which is something that I learned recently, is that Alma means young woman or virgin in Hebrew. You could see right here in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, when you're going through the Hebrew Bible, where it says, behold, a virgin shall conceive, it is Ha-Alma. Ha is the definite article the. Alma means young girl or virgin. And learning that and seeing it as I was going over the Isaiah chapters very recently, I decided to look that name up in the Demotic Dictionary as well. And this is what I found. All means stone. Ma means truth or justice, or truth and justice. Who would have known that the name Alma in Egyptian means the stone or rock, like Peter or Petros, the stone of truth and justice? I think that's absolutely fascinating. So that concludes the presentation for today. I hope you liked it. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you learned something. If you liked the video, please click the like button, and please click subscribe, and many more videos will be coming in the future. Have a great day. Bye-bye.